Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by learning to develop yourself, your skills, your network, and more. I'm Brian, your host. All right, today on the Develop Yourself podcast, I have Gabe Rucker, CEO of Founding Titans, who's going to speak with me today about something I'm very interested in, and a lot of people that join Parsity are interested in, entrepreneurship. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I had to readjust my chair as we said the entrepreneurship works.
Did I get you nervous?
Not like excited, nervous, invigorated, stressed out all at once. Yeah.
Do you even like that term? Do you like when people like refer to you as entrepreneur? You're like you feel like you don't feel like that fits what you do or what?
I like the entrepreneur term. I hate the super connector term. Because that's another one that I get stuck with.
I've heard this a lot now.
Mm-hmm. It sounds cocky. It sounds like I'm trying to wear like a Superman kind of S on my chest kind of thing. And that's I'm fine with being cocky, but I like to slide in the middle of cocky and confident and stride that line pretty well.
I like that. I think to be an entrepreneur and to do what you do, you have to be a little bit, right? Because it takes a special type of person to want to say, you know what, forget the stability or the supposed stability of a job. I'm going to do my own thing. No, I'm just going to make money out of thin air, and then I'm going to live off that.
You can call us crazy. It's 100% fine. Like what is it? The definition of insanity is what we kind of mull over a lot in the entrepreneur ecosystem for sure. I think that you have to be a certain level of crazy or a certain, borderline insane to try to do something like this in the best way possible. Yeah. Sometimes in the worst way, but mostly in the best way possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know you from getting introduced through a mutual connection. Mm-hmm. Then we started doing an internship with some Parsity students, and you're working on this product called Founding Titans. Before we get into entrepreneurship stuff and like all the questions I have, can you tell us a little bit about Founding Titans?
Oh, yes, I can. So Founding Titans is a community-focused relationship optimization platform. We're building that to help entrepreneurs to be able to discover, analyze, and engage professional networks. And basically what all of that means is we're trying to help entrepreneurs to be able to surpass their natural human limitations and 10x their network size. So on average, we've got about 100 people that we connect with professionally, about a 150, total for, our social sphere. And we want to get that to over 1,000 for entrepreneurs. So that's what we're really trying to do.
That's a really cool idea because that's what I found. I was in an entrepreneur group full of like dudes that are founders and stuff, and I feel like the small fish in this group full of guys that are like they're killing it. They're making $1 million annual recurring revenue. Mm-hmm. They're dealing with a lot of the same problems I'm dealing with that I'm sure you're dealing with, like saying, "Hey, where's my next lead coming from?" And I noticed an interesting thing. They're working mostly in their networks. Like that is a big thing. I hate that term. Your network is your net worth. I'm like, it's true. It's kind of true, right? And if you don't have a good one, like I see a lot of these guys are based in Austin, for example, or the Bay Area. But I'm like, what do you do if you're in Arkansas? You know what I mean? Like you're kind of constrained a bit, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. All founders, we all struggle. We all cry a little bit. Like we're all, I literally was just on a session with, for those, shout out to Goody Nation. They do a session called All Founders Need Therapy. Legitimately talking through all of our struggles and the pains of, what an entrepreneur, has to go through, not just like how are you checking in with your family? How are you checking in with your friends?
Oh, yeah.
How are you showing up? Because it's completely different when you're, creating opportunities for others, not just creating opportunities for yourself, like you would with a normal job. And so, being able to, kind of go through and build out your network is extremely important, but also extremely difficult. Like I wish I would have started earlier, and I feel like I did in a lot of ways, but like, how do you even track that? Right? Like how are we figuring out how we even show up? Like there are people in my network that are, killing it right now. And I honestly can say I don't talk to them enough. Like one of my friends just closed like a $300,000 deal. And the reason why I found out about that is because I was in my other friend's car that I hadn't seen in literally over like a year and a half. And we were just hanging out and they were on the phone together. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Over here killing it. Can't say his name, but yeah, he was just closed a $300K deal. And that's
amazing.
Net that he got. Like that was his commission with $300,000. And I'm like, all right. Like,
Yeah. Kind of kicks you into gear, right? Like
yeah.
you can listen to that. It's like, damn, I kind of love hearing these stories. Like when I meet somebody and I'm hearing that they're like made some crazy amount, even as a software engineer, when I found out people, I'm like, oh, that's how much you could make.
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, that's cool. Cause I was really low when I started off. And even now, like it, we compare. And I think that's can be a good thing sometimes. Cause then you can say, okay, what's possible? Before we get into all that stuff though, I got
Yeah.
one thing that people listening will probably be interested in is you started off right as a coder. You know how to code. You're a software developer.
Yeah.
How'd that like take place? How'd that switch from like, okay, I write code and you know what, now I'm going to be an entrepreneur guy.
So I like to do what I categorize as side quests, right? Like I go out and areas that I'm lacking in or that I'm interested in. I'll just dabble in it for a little bit. I've been a comedian. I've been a
Mm-hmm.
DJ. I've been
Whoa.
my first company that I ran was a software company. But I think all of us, we all started out. Well, not all, but a good amount of us started out with MySpace, right? Learning HTML and CSS and updating
Mm-hmm.
our profile pages.
Yep.
But no, for me as an engineer, and things I hadn't even thought about, and I was talking to my dad recently, actually, and he brought it up. But like, we had worked on like a Mars rover in elementary school. Like, I was in this club called Young Astronauts, and like
Oh,
NASA
cool.
came to our school and stuff. And like, I
Yeah.
built, like, I was more into hardware, I guess, back when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom, for the first time, and I remember this vividly, we were at Costco, right? And then there was one of those little build your own alarm system kits. Bought
Mm-hmm.
one of those, learned how to code that out, and like put that on my door. Didn't function well for a while. I think maybe my mom might have snipped a wire or broke
Disabled it.
it,
Yeah.
but like,
Hacked it. Yeah.
that was how I initially started out with coding. But then for my professional career, going into like actually learning JavaScript, that was a complete accident actually. So
Wow.
I was what is it? Client services manager and like sales director for this organization. They had built out their own like choose your own adventure call center scripting software, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would have to code between like 200 to 500 web pages for each client to build out their call center script.
200 to 500?
And that would be like within a couple of days to a week that I would code these out too. This was
Is this before AI or what?
this was way before. This is not way before AI. This was like, I don't know, 2019, 2020. Yeah. Like
Okay.
before, I mean,
Yeah.
AI has existed for a while, but I was not using any machine learning. This was PHP and
Wow.
JavaScript that we were using for that.
Holy
So
moly.
yeah,
Okay.
it was not for the faint of heart. Also, I shout out to Calway Silva. He helped me out with learning JavaScript ad hoc. So I probably did like 2 or 3 sessions
Okay.
with him randomly, just because I definitely broken way more code than I probably fixed writing those websites. And
Yeah, that's I think my experience too when I was learning. I'm like, I was beyond useless. I was less than useless. I was actively destroying things, to be completely honest, in my first job.
oh no, I looked back through some of my code once I had actually learned like what a div was, like crazy stuff. Like I
Yeah.
was coding for probably at least 2 weeks without actually knowing how to code, and like I was looking like at other people's code.
Mm-hmm.
It was decent, right? But it would 100% was a dumpster fire. Like it's like
Oh
comparing
yeah.
like what is it called? Like broken glass to like what is it called? Um an actual dumpster fire. I would say, yeah, like so it's like a little bit of trash compared to like
Yeah.
just an entire
Mm-hmm.
container of garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's degrees, right? There's
exactly.
levels to
There were
this.
levels to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you started doing that,
Mhm.
and then yeah. So what happened? Like, what was the thing that kicked off you saying, "I'm going to now do my own company"? I mean, I'm guessing this isn't your first one. It's obviously not your first rodeo here, which is also common. It seems very rare that I've ever met somebody's like, "Oh, my first thing, I knocked it out of the park, and now I'm rich, and that's it." It's like, yeah. How did that transition take place?
So hilariously, and I can't talk too much about it because of
Okay.
the agreements with what happened with that first company. But I will say,
Sure.
100K in ARR to cease and desist to company being sold or dissolved, and that was within like 6 months. So I did
Ouch.
have a company that was actually
Okay.
doing extremely well, and then we had to do some changes.
Hmm.
But the biggest I guess transition from that company towards helping other startups. So Arizona State University was where I kind of got my start with consulting. And I had worked with
Okay.
probably about like 25, 50 startups. First six were dating apps, which of course,
Oh, of
um,
course.
yeah, because that's just what everybody was building in like 2013, 2014 or whatever it was. But
It's not a bad product, you know. I mean, it's like something people would probably want to use. Yeah.
yeah, well, there's an interesting fact with dating apps. So I'll save for another time for us to chat about. But I definitely I've worked out the algorithm with them. People actually want to make a successful one. There's only one way to do it. Nobody's done it yet.
Okay.
But in regard to that, so I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs. I had already had a certificate for marketing and hospitality that I actually got in high
Mm-hmm.
school, and so I was just consulting with a bunch of startups, and then finally, one of those ended up raising their seed round. A couple of years later, basically during the pandemic, brought me out to Austin, Texas. And Austin, the startup ecosystem is amazing here, right? Like people
That's what I've
helpful,
heard.
collaborating, just a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of like individuals that are all like it's like being in the room with a bunch of CEOs, different levels, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, there's something here because there's not enough um, really collaboration or communication, yet there's also just this mass abundance of it. And so, how do
Mm-hmm.
we essentially like bridge this gap to where we can fill in the holes that are occurring with like the communication amongst all of these, very brilliant people, right?
Yeah.
So, talking with my co-founder Ross, he and I were, both at two different startups at the time when we came up with the company.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had started another company together. He'd been working on it for 3 years. He brought me on a little bit later, and basically we were
Okay.
looking at sales and M&A, right? Which was merger and acquisitions. For people that know what M&A is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that company didn't really work out, and so we did a quick transition to. He said, "Whatever you come up with next, we'll build it." So started working on the
Wow.
Titans thing. Uh,
Okay.
that company, literally, we were in talks before we killed it. We were talking about probably over $10 million we were going to sell that company for. So
Wow.
yeah, how do you turn down over $10 million in an acquisition to work on this because we're really stupid and probably should have built that out,
Oh
sold it,
my God.
and then worked on this and used the money to fuel this endeavor. But yeah,
Holy
that's another thing a lot
moly.
of people don't know about this project is Ross and I had like bare minimum, and this is like if we really screwed the pooch, like $5 million. Probably I would have walked away with a mill. He would have walked away with at least two or three, and that was like the worst case scenario. We were looking at on average probably about between ten to $25 million that we were going to sell the company for, and we're in early conversations for. So
That's amazing. I mean, just to even have a shot at that kind of money is amazing. But then to turn it down,
very
that's
stupidly, yeah.
well, hey, who knows? Maybe you did the right thing. You know, I'm sure it's never as simple as I'm hearing this part of it, but I'm sure there's tons of context that we're probably missing from it too. But
Yeah, there is tons of context, but with all that context, and so even to
still $25 million.
yeah, exactly. I was on a study actually. There's a Stanford study going
Mm-hmm.
on right now where they're looking at entrepreneurs and their careers and really just risk takers and just stuff
Yeah.
like that and building a study out from it. And so I was on with them for 2 hours yesterday, just kind of walking through all of this. And as I was thinking
Yeah.
about it, I was really like, oh wow, we messed up. I completely forgot this was on the road. What happened to us and how we started this because it was basically just 30
Oh
minutes of that
man.
2 hours talking about how we had got this company started, talking about like my entrepreneurial journey, and I was like, oh wow, that was a real thing that was like in our hands and tangible, and we just kind of said, nah, we'll do this thing because we were like, do we want $10 million and work on this for like an extra year and a half, or do we
Uh
want to
huh.
build $1 billion plus company and just run with this and make it
Mm-hmm.
functional? And well, what really happened where Ross said, "No, we're going through and doing this." Out in the Arizona heat, I was played the drums for the first time. I actually know how to play a bunch of
Okay.
percussion instruments. Played the drums for the first time in years, and then had this idea for the company. Walking back and forth in the Arizona heat for 3 hours on the phone with Ross,
Mm-hmm.
while he's back here in Austin, and he's like, "I love it. Let's do it. Like, whatever. Like, we're going to drop everything else." this is the
Yeah.
$1 billion plus idea. We're rocking with this. And I'm like, all right.
I love it, man. Dude, that is awesome. I'm reading this book about like this billionaire guy, and he did a similar move to you, where he had a bunch of money on the table, and he's like, "Nope, I'm going." He had the North Star, and he did it, and it worked out really well for him. He's a billionaire. He went from barista to billionaire. It's a very famous story that my business partner told me to read. So, wow, there's a lot going on here. But
Yeah.
one of the most interesting things I have thought about when it comes to entrepreneurs and people in the startup space that I never understood. I launched a failed startup on my own. I never got very far. I never got any real funding for it. We got like $10,000 offer, which we have turned down. That was the most I ever got offered for any startup idea I ever had. Pretty lame. But one thing I couldn't figure out was, how do you get investors? I'm in the Bay Area. I've worked for startups. You're at a startup. You obviously have to gain capital somehow. How do people do that? How do you go from idea to being in a meeting with somebody that's like, hey, give me $1 million, and like, yeah, sure, here you go?
So I'll tell you the real way, and I'll also tell you where not to mess up on that, right?
Okay.
Because the biggest thing you actually want is traction, right? And even as we're going through and having the interns with Parsity right now, building stuff out, like everybody thinks that the baby needs to be cute, right? You can have the ugliest baby in the world, as long as you've got something, in the bassinet, is really all investors care about. Is like, is the baby there? Is it breathing? Is it going to thrive? Like, are you building out, something that people are willing and able to pay for, right? And if you've got numbers on the books, even if it's not like crazy numbers in revenue, like they just want to see that it's viable first, at least the early stages of something getting funded. So we're talking about like pre-seed, seed stages. That's really,
Okay.
what people care about. Then you start approaching, what's called, product market fit, which is, this actually works in the market. This is something that, is gaining some legs. It could potentially, work at scale, and you've worked out some of the initial kinks. At least the market wants this, right?
Yeah.
And at that stage, I mean, it's definitely about the numbers. It's like, okay, what if, like, it goes way more into your data room, how much, information is really on the books for the company. But and then, after you hit that point where like basically you're scaling, then you're looking at your customer acquisition strategies and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, are you actually worth your valuation, right? Are you doing a down round? Are you like, if like on paper, as you do these subsequent rounds and you finally get to what's called a price round, usually around Series A, if not before, where essentially, whatever the company is valued at, it's realized, right? It's not like this fictitious kind of thing which you might hear with
Okay.
what's called a safe note, or even with some convertible notes. Like there's more weight attached to it. And these are all layman's terms. I'm trying to dumb this down a lot for people that are not in the
Sure.
ecosystems while they're listening. But
Good, because I'm pretty dumb and I'm still having trouble following along.
yeah, it's I mean,
I'm
there's
getting it.
levels to it. There's
Okay.
even if people really want to know how to really look at the startup space from a venture capital perspective, or even just like capital perspective in general, because there are 64 different ways for a company to get funded, 64 different versions of capital, actually. And that includes everything from venture, corporate, because there's like CVC, there's, sponsored capital. There's so many different ways. There's grants and different versions of grants and stuff like that.
Yep.
So like when it comes to getting a company funded, it really just comes down to, can you get some people to pre-sign up for this? Can you get some product really quick to market? And you can use like Lovable, or we're building a Michael right now on Lovable. Can you just use something to get something janky out, have some people using it? And then it comes down to the real part of talking to investors, right? Or talking to other high net worth individuals, or filling out grants, whatever it is. And in that process, it really is an evaluation, because on the investor side, you're not just trying to get a blank check, right? You're not just trying to get the capital in. You have to be very strategic with it, because I've also seen a lot of founders that have lost their companies because they have the wrong person they accepted money from. They put the wrong people on the board. Like, there's this thing called super voter shares. And I'm trying to do quick highlights on stuff. So people purchase themselves and look at it. But look at, early Uber, right? With Travis and all the stuff that happened there. He had super voter shares. Uber did a bunch of stuff that was super illegal in the earlier days. There was even a lawsuit that happened with Google because Google Ventures invested in Uber at one point. But
Okay.
companies like that, or even what you see with OpenAI, with how they
Yeah,
structured
that's
their
right.
board and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff that happened with their basically half their board getting blacklisted like 2 years ago. That we like,
That's right.
so many things have happened that like
Yep.
it's,
A lot of drama.
we're just brushing over things, but in that regard, like basically nobody's going to give you super voting shares unless you were already a billionaire that's done this a couple of times before. And you've
Okay.
got like, crazy track record of money in the bank, right? Because other people have, basically made it damn near impossible for you to get that. And so
Okay.
now you have to think strategically of, okay, can this investor give me connections? Can this investor help me with
Mm-hmm.
a market strategy? Can this investor help me with something other than just writing a check? And most of
Okay.
the time when you're raising capital, the loudest people in the room are the wrong people to write a check from. Usually the loudest people in the room are going to be the loudest people in the boardroom. I'm not
Yeah.
saying to get somebody that's quiet, but you want somebody that, like if they're fighting you tooth and nail at every step of the way, that might not be the right person. But also, if they don't really care at
Okay.
all and they're just writing a check, that's also the wrong person. So you have to find this middle ground of
This is interesting.
support and information.
So it's like more like finding like a partner. It's like finding like a person that because I have seen this from the outside working at startups where you have investors. They're breathing down our necks to get something, or they become too loud, like you said, and basically you're working for the investor, and they're changing the product direction, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on your relationship, right? Like it could be that you now feel like, oh my God, I got to build this thing for this investor. They're making the wrong decision, but I don't have enough power to fight back, and I could see that devolving very quickly. This is super interesting. But like, where do you actually like meet the people? Like, where do you? When I think of like this board of people, I'm like, okay, there's groups, but how do you even get the part where like, how do they even know you exist?
How do they know that you exist?
Yeah.
Networking events, the same way you would network with anybody else for like, how does
Okay.
somebody know that you have like that you're applying for a
Podcasts or
job,
on
or how do
LinkedIn
you
or
know that
whatever.
somebody
Yeah,
like how
sure.
do you make friends, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
go out to networking events, go on LinkedIn and like, find the right buyer personas for people, like in turn, and I mean buyer personas isn't like the do you meet their investor thesis or whatever it is, start commenting
Mm-hmm.
on their posts, set up a meeting, and like there's this adage of if you're looking for money, ask for advice. If you're looking for advice, ask for money or anything, whatever. I'm butchering it, but basically the
Okay.
turn
I'll go look
is
that up. Yeah.
ask for advice, right?
Okay.
Like go into a conversation and really just try to learn from somebody. And there are some quotes that I've been given, like you're not kissing anybody's ass either. Don't go
Yeah.
into an investor convo like they're this end all be all god. Most VCs are broke.
Oh, you're the best.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like
funny too.
honestly, like literally, like they're probably making 60, maybe they're 60K a year, maybe they're reaching six figures, but like once the fund returns and their companies actually pay out, like yeah, maybe they might be a little
Then
bit more flush with
gotcha.
cash, but mostly
Mm-hmm.
all VCs are not that flush with money.
Imagine you're like a person like learning to code now, or you're becoming a software engineer, and you're thinking, you know what? I want to build a product. I hear this a lot. And I think this too. I think all software engineers tend to have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit where we're able to build stuff. But most of us don't build the right thing, and we build things that no one wants to use, whatever. How do you determine like what to build and think this is an actual thing I should build? Do you do this like based out of your like love of something, or is it more you see a market need and say I might not care about this thing that this problem I'm solving, but I know I can build a solution? Yeah, how do you go about finding the right problems to solve?
Yeah, and this can vary slightly depending on what industry or space you're in, but for anything consumer, 1,000% yes to this, and most forms of B2B, you can also do this or different versions, but 100 customers, 100 people. There's a book called the Mom Test, right? And
Okay.
so basically, the concept of the Mom Test is your mother's going to lie to you, right? Your mother's not going to tell you
Mm-hmm.
that your baby's ugly. Your mother's going to be like, "Oh my god, so I love this. I would use this in a heartbeat." You
Right. Yeah.
BS comments, right? Your friends, your
Mm-hmm.
family, whatever it is. Like, are people willing and able to pay for what you have? Let's talk to over 100 people. Do 100 interviews with people. Doesn't have to be anything crazy or long or whatever. Just
Mm-hmm.
that they're interested in the kind of product that you're building without asking leading questions or getting biased data in, And then, are they willing and able to pay for it? And then the next step after you get that, build out a pre-order thing for the information, see if anybody actually puts, or if you get contracts or whatever, get LOIs, whatever, just trigger some buying intent with somebody, even without even building out a mock-up. If you can sell it without building out without building the thing, then you've got something good, right? And then the final thing is build something very minimal. And the term for MVP, breaking it down, is minimal viable product, right?
Yeah.
And so build the least amount that you need to do to be able to get it in the hands of everybody. You're going to mess it up. You're going to make it way more complicated. I've done it before as well. You're going to make it way more complex than it needs to be. Thinking about Airbnb, right? Airbnb started out for their first time that they got a customer with an air mattress, and they had some dude just sleeping on it during a music festival. And I think they got like $75 or something. That was their proof of concept, because their whole thing was.
I heard DoorDash did something similar too. Yeah. Like they just basically had dudes like running around with shopping carts and like cars, whatever.
Yeah. Oh no, crazy thing for like DoorDash and Uber and some of those early things. Like, so for their payment processing systems, initially they were using Cash App and like other stuff to pay their employees, so that they would be able to get them paid same day. So they were just sending the money through those systems and tracking it on a spreadsheet. Yeah. Like that's the thing. That's what I mean by minimal viable. Like you don't need to have. There's certain products you don't even need to build anything engineering wise. You might even need to build a system yet. You could just run it off of a spreadsheet or run it off of whatever it is, get the buyer intent, and then you can get now I've got people that are willing and able to pay for this. Now I've got early adopters. I can ask them for doing user stories. I can ask them for doing beta testers and like, hey, bring you on for a 15-minute call. Hey, I'm going to walk you through this app that I built. Do you like these buds? Do I like these buds? Like, what do you feel when you're on this page? Whatever the hell else for the user story stuff. But that's the way to do it. And you can get all of that done. That sounds like a crazy thing. Depending on what you're building, if you're building like hardware, obviously it could be a little bit more difficult. But anything software related, it shouldn't take you more than 30 days for building out at least a quick proof of concept or getting a wait list or whatever else it is, right?
Yeah.
Like for us, I went out and I've done, for all the different iterations and pivots of our company, I've probably done over 2,000, 3,000 customer interviews. I did over like 400 in like a month for us alone, right? It's not hard. I went to a couple of events. I talked to a bunch of people. I brought a little dictation device with me. And, I recorded the calls. I stuck the chat information into GPT, pulled out the transcript before we had transcripting software like 2 years ago with like all these messaging apps and everything else. I got the transcripts really quick. I plugged the data in and, we saw the correlations and we went from there, right? It's not as difficult as people think. And this is coming from somebody that did take longer in certain aspects. You don't have to. You'll get the same results. And you'll move faster.
Man, that's golden advice, because the MVP thing consistently gets screwed up by, I've done it. I've been at companies where it's like, this is minimally viable. I'm like, no, this is not. This is what you actually want to ship to as your final product. And you're just calling it that so you move faster. That's not an MVP. But the idea that you hit on, especially, is like find something that people are willing to pay for, or you get buy-in before you build it, which is usually the opposite of what we do. We'll build something and we think it's minimally viable, and even if it is, we might build the thing and then we realize no one wants it, and we've wasted all that time. We don't think that why not just have like a man behind the curtain type of approach before you actually go out to there with this kind of thing. Man, that is really good advice. I need to take myself. One of the last questions I'm curious to ask you about is, you have a team of software engineers and you're a CEO. Why aren't you just vibe coding this whole thing?
What do you mean by vibe coding the whole thing? That's good.
I'm being a little facetious, you could say. What I'm trying to get at is, you've decided to actually have humans code your app, and I think I understand why, but I'm curious because I know there are a lot of people out there that say, just vibe code the whole thing. Vibe coding, the term, which has been a bit butchered to people now, means, hey, just go and use something like Cursor or Windsurf or whatever AI text editor to essentially do the work of an entire software team and build out an entire app in, some some smaller proportion of time than it would usually take for you to do it by hand, in quotes.
Yeah, so I mean, I can answer this perfectly because I'm actually trying to build out a secondary mock-up just to show investors of what we're raising the money for, not necessarily what the engineers are building now for the next phase or iteration, why we need capital. And yeah, after what, like $50, and I think I've put in like over 150 prompts, one quick failed build after like 3 steps, and then one that I put like at least 100 plus credits into or whatever. Yeah, no, it's like I could do that if I was trying to build out an application that is very rudimentary or whatever. But like a complex application like this, like, yeah, I can build this out as like a mock-up or a demo environment potentially, but I can't build this entire thing or this system using something like that. I literally tried a couple of days ago because I was like, oh wow, because you get into this mysticism where like I built out some of the pages that the interns are working on right now, and I was like, oh wow, I built this out super quick. Oh my god, why do I have a dev team? I thought about that for one prompt, and then the next prompt, I was like, oh dear God, I'm so glad I have an engineering team because this is like it just bungled up the entire code within the next like thing. And it was something simple when it completely changed up the UI.
Yeah.
Completely changed up like every single little aspect, changed up the colors.
I hate that.
Which I
hate that. I'm like, why'd you do that? Why?
Yeah,
why would you do that?
I'm like, if this was actually linked into our code base right now for GitHub, we would be screwed. Our repo would just like I would have to try to figure out some way to revert this because like it's also connected in with a database. And so like because the database got broken and it was doing like repeated calls over and over again. And I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't pay for this because I mean I kind of did. I paid $50, but like in general, not like full build because I'm like, even if somebody doesn't know how to code and they're using one of these things, they're not how they're going to that. Like they're just gonna burn through money because like there's a call right now that it was doing, and luckily I'm a developer, so I knew how to shut it off. I'm not even back end, but like I very luckily could figure it out enough to like shut it off in like 2 or 3 minutes. But it had done over like 1,000 calls to the API for just me being logged into the demo environment. Like,
and if you're using something like OpenAI and you're doing anything like potentially expensive, I mean, man, that could really ruin your day.
Yeah, no, it would suck. Like, I'm glad that I like caught it because the thing is, if I hadn't developed the systems or processes for like me being a developer, I wouldn't think, like, okay, let's go ahead and check the back end real quick, look at the log, see if what we did is broken, because I can see the error message in here and I know what this error message means. Let me fix this error. Oh, Lovable said that it fixed it. I know it didn't. Let me check back. And oh yeah, no, repeatedly calling over and over again. I'm just going to revert this really fast because there's no way that it's going to stop calling. And even if I were to hard code this and push a patch very quickly, it would still keep calling it. Because I had done that yesterday as well too. So because I've been doing this over like the last 3 or 4 days for trying to build out this.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, there's certain things that can do really well. So I even test.
Yeah, for sure.
Where I'll type in what I'm putting into Lovable in ChatGPT. I'll give it my layman terms notes. It'll then write out a prompt for me to then copy and paste into ChatGPT so that I can save time in writing it, right? With Cursor, I can use Cursor for doing code review on it and then figure out, what stuff is broken or whatever it is after it does its quote unquote fixes. But then I'm like, it's just the blind leading the blind at a certain point with it. And so I would rather not bother. But like the interns right now, people are using like Claude for writing out, RFPs and going through and what is it called? Like Eric, our interim CTO, he's been jumping in and doing a crazy amount of stuff. He's very, very versed on the AI side and all the recent developments and everything else. And he's provided some great tools. Used like Gemini for their code review thing. At times myself, I use Gemini for every meeting that I have. Very pro AI. Our platform is building on an AI matchmaking.
Yeah, it's built on it. Yeah, exactly.
But can AI be used for everything? Hell no. Out of somebody that's worked with like 3 or 4 AI companies over the last couple of years since AI has had this boom, and building myself, I I wouldn't trust it for 90% of things right now. Can you build out something quick for an MVP? Sure.
Yeah,
But
quick and dirty. Yeah.
yeah, build it out, get the money, and then hire a developer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Yeah, for a janky BS
Oh no.
that you can spend some, like, okay, Google for startups gave you $2,000 in free credits. AWS gave you $10,000 in AWS credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have what is it, a couple thousand users messing stuff up and doing constant calls to your API, and then okay,
Yep.
now for 3 months I've got 20,000 users or whatever, and they're all in here. I'm running out of credits. I'm raising money right now, showing that I have the traction of 20,000 users that are actively using this, janky
Mm-hmm.
system that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me money for me to be able to build this properly and
To build the real thing. Yeah.
and then like people will fund stuff like that all day. I mean, the market is the market right now, but in
Yeah. Right.
general,
Yeah. It is what it
they'll
is.
toss cash at you for something that works and
Has users.
yeah, like that has users, and then get a real developer, get an actual dev team. Don't and like people also say for a bunch of these offshore teams or whatever too. Like, as somebody who's used them, like this company that we're building right now, which a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Ross and I were trying to build out an ethical dev shop, which is what we were calling it. We were actually going to build our
Oh,
own dev
I like
shop
that.
and
Yeah.
crank out projects, got an affordable
Mm-hmm.
price for entrepreneurs. And then we realized there were so many dev shops would be like screaming into the void. And we decided to make an actual software system, which is when Ross then said, boom, let's this is great. $1 billion plus idea. Way better than all the other stuff we've been talking about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's the main thing is just use devs. And if you are a dev listening to this, like, you can adapt AI into your workflows, but even with the input
Mm-hmm.
we have now, don't just don't just code out everything with AI, because if you don't know what you're looking at, like if I didn't know what I was looking at with that code, it would have continuously called. It would have still been on right now, even though that
Right.
completely closed out the
And
application.
you would not know until you got a big bill.
Yeah, and then I would have just got a huge bill, right? So,
Yeah.
showcasing that as just a major key highlight, that the experience and things that you have, as a developer, even when you're coding with AI, are extremely important. And you can use it to speed up processes, but you still have to know how to do the thing at the end of the day. You still have to, if you didn't have code,
Yeah.
or if you didn't have, AI or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
you could still build this, right? That's the biggest call out for artificial intelligence for any company, any space, any industry, no matter what you're doing. If you're using artificial intelligence, if you can't do it by yourself initially, then you also don't even know what the cleanup is, because I've never received an exact one-to-one. Oh my God, this is perfect. I can use
Yeah. Right.
all of this.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a great rough draft, and then you edit
Yes.
like a little bit to be able to refine it to your use case.
Mm-hmm.
Even just so people know that you just didn't write this whole thing with AI. That's honestly.
I'm super glad to hear you say that, and also a really good place to end off. I'm glad. I mean, we hear so much about the negativity. Also, I think there's a whole class of snake oil salesmen that have risen because of this industry now, telling people like, "Oh, you don't need to you can do everything with AI." I'm like, this is silly, dangerous. I think it's also going to maybe spawn a whole other industry of people to clean up the mess potentially later, but we'll see how this all pans out.
Yeah. No, there's a bubble. There's a bubble that's going to pop at some point. I think it already did pop in 2022, and then we just created another bubble again.
Create another one, yeah.
Because we the thing is, media moves so fast now that we could have 12 .com bubbles all at the same time, and they could all burst all at the same moment, and then we would all still be like, well, just like stuff. I think
let's go back. Let's do Web 4.
I think we've had that over the last 5 years. So we've just seen several bubbles pop and then just go right
it's been interesting
and restart. Like we've seen,
metaverse, NFTs, Web 3, kind of the crypto, and then
AI, like
AI.
machine learning. Like, even though both AI and machine learning have been out for like over 30, 40 years, like
we saw
that
new terms
super big. We saw the bubble pop. We saw the market adjust, and then it's getting big again. And it's just going to keep, flexing. I don't think we're going to have linear paths like we previously did with markets because of artificial intelligence. And I think that's the major shift that we're seeing.
That's it. That is interesting. Man. Hey, where can people get on the sign up list or find more about Founding Titans?
Yeah. So foundingtitans.com, Titans with an S, is, our website. You can register for our wait list there. You can also find me personally, Gabe Rucker on LinkedIn. I think GQ Rucker on other social handles for like X or Twitter, all that good stuff.
Cool.
And yeah, always happy to connect and speak with people just on various different fronts for me. And then for the company, we're actually going to be launching, I believe, on about I think May 6th is the target date that we're working with. So I don't know when this is coming out, but May 6th,
it'll be out before then.
Look at stuff. If it's not there, wait another weekend to come back. But right now, that's the date that we have targeted right now.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'll have all that in the show notes. And thank you so much. It's been an excellent conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. That'll do it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. If you're serious about switching careers and becoming a software developer and building complex software and want to work directly with me and my team, go to Parsity.io. And if you want more information, feel free to schedule a chat by just clicking the link in the show notes. See you next week.